Hi, I'm Sofia.
I'm Angie.
And I'm Bridget.
Our community has been affected by the action of trying to ban same-sex marriage. This action has been conducted under the laws of legislation.
As of January 10th, same-sex marriage is legal in the following 36 states and is banned in the other 15 states.
Alaska and Hawaii were the first states to legally ban same-sex marriage in 1998.
The question of whether or not there ought to be a federal statute that governs this, I don't support. I do believe that historically the way marriage has been regulated is at the state level. This has always been a state issue. And I think that's the way it ought to be handled today. That is, on a state-by-state basis. Different states will make different decisions.
We asked ACLU Representative Tyler Ingham to come in and answer a few questions about his opinion on this issue.
Women or two men or people who are kind of somewhere in between those two things, they have the same problems. So I don't think there's been any harm to the institution of marriage. It seems to be a marriage relationship. Taxes are affected by marriage. The ability to get health care is affected by marriage. Now whether or not marriage should have a type of legal implication or have as much of a huge implication in our everyday life, that's another conversation. But I think absolutely people should be able to marry whoever they want.
The Supreme Court of the United States ruled that marriage equality is indeed constitutional in the states that approve it. 13 states plus this city, our national capital, has marriage equality. But our work is not done yet, because when I pledge allegiance to the flag, I pledge allegiance to one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have divided our nation, 1/3 with equality and 2/3 with people who hunger for equality but do not have it.
We then asked Renee Considine to also come in and state her opinion. Renee is happily married to her wife, Carrie Considine.
Like we are validated. We are tax-paying Americans just like everybody else, and we should not be denied the same rights as everybody else. And by being able to get married, it does that. There's only one time I've experienced discrimination. Last year, after my wife and I got married, she sent our marriage certificate and necessary paperwork to her company to put me on her health insurance. That's very common. Most, your parents, I'm sure, one's on the other's health insurance policy. Married people do it all the time. The company then notified her that they did not provide benefits for same-sex couples, even though we were legally married, and she works in Connecticut, which is an equality state. Her company is based in Tennessee, and when you are operating a big company like that, and you're doing business across state lines, you actually follow federal laws, not state laws. And currently there are no LGBT protections at the federal level. They're only at the state level. So it was actually legal for them to discriminate against us and not give us health insurance.
In 2013, the Supreme Court struck down part of DOMA, which defined marriage as a man and a woman.
Housing, that's how DOMA went down, was because these two elderly women who had been together for over 45 years, one of them died, and the other had to be forced to pay an inheritance tax on the home that they have lived in for 40 years. That wouldn't have happened to a straight couple. Your one parent dies, the spouse gets the house. It's no big deal. And that was the foundation in the argument that struck down DOMA, was over.
We also called a government official who asked to remain anonymous, and he stated his opinion on the controversy of same-sex marriage.
Well, it seems to me that what the government really needs to do is to fully enforce the First Amendment, which gives people the right to free association, free speech, and then also the Constitution also specifies equal protection under the law. So I think that's probably what the government really needs to focus on.
George Rodriguez is a Jehovah's Witness, and because of his religion, he believes that same-sex marriage is wrong.
I just feel that if we were created for a specific purpose, that we should stick to that purpose. We were intended for a specific purpose, and if we choose to please God, then we would want to listen to what the Bible has to say about the topic. Well, the Bible is specific on who God approves of for marriage. It doesn't really encourage people to be mean or to be rude to people who don't follow the Bible, but it does encourage people to live their life in a way that God approves.
Well, I think that this non-decision decision was essentially an under-the-radar Roe versus Wade for marriage. I think it made a decision, and we see the implications of that immediately. So I don't know what the end game is in the short term, but it's very clear where the court is wanting to go, which is toward finding a constitutional right to same-sex marriage. I, of course, don't think there is any such constitutional right, but the court seems to be moving in that direction. And, well, no, it doesn't settle the debate, because we will continue to debate what marriage is and why the government ought to have an interest in marriage at all. And so I think short term, the situation looks very bad for people who believe in traditional marriage, as I do.